Hey run junkies, for many of us here in the colder climates, we are having to make some tough decisions about where we're gonna get our runs in. Or if you're living in warmer climates and you're watching this in July, you might have the same problem, but just warm weather. Do we run outside in cold and snowy and potentially dangerously cold situations? Or conversely, when it's warm, is it dangerously warm? What do? Do we opt to run outside or do we take it to the treadmill? Today, I have some tips for using the treadmill properly and making it a useful and productive alternative to running outside. So if the choice is between running safely or not at all, the treadmill is a great option to running outside, of course. However, for many of us, it's not the go-to option, right? I know personally I would much rather run outside than run on the treadmill, but I would also rather run on the treadmill than not run at all. And so would my family. And lately here in Denver, it's been icy and almost dangerously so. So I am opting for the treadmill today. Now first, let's get a couple of things out of the way, including our perception of this amazing device, the treadmill. Yes, maybe you refer to it as the Treadmill, or probably one of my favorite is Satan's Sidewalk. I do prefer to look at this as a tool and I look at it in a positive light. So when I have to come up with another alternative name for it, I call it the Insteadmill. So instead of risking my neck and running in icy conditions, I will bring it indoors to run safely. Now, in order to get an effective workout on the treadmill, we need to use it carefully and safely. So there are a few things to keep in mind. So some treadmills have quick advance options, so a quick incline option, a quick speed option, which will get you to within a range of your desired incline and speed. Now, if yours doesn't, it should have an incline up and incline down, a speed up, a speed down, a start button, a stop button, and an emergency button like this one right here. Normally, you would clip that to your shirt or your pants, and if you trip and fall, it will actually turn off the treadmill for you. Now, once you start up the treadmill, I'm gonna start mine and I'm gonna set it to a walk right now. Once you start it up, there are a couple of things that you can do to simulate outside. Right now, my incline is at 1%, I believe. I'm gonna set it to 1%. It's not going anywhere, so I'm gonna show you what 3% looks like. If you set your incline to a 1% to up to a 2% grade, you are simulating the wind resistance that you would get outside, as well as the fact that you actually have to push forward with your body. The treadmill belt is doing some of the work for you, so you want to add a little bit of resistance to that. All right, I'm going to bring this back down. Now, as far as your form goes, you want to basically simulate like you're running outside. So I'm going to set it to a nice, easy run. This right here is 4 miles per hour, which is a 15-minute pace, right? Well, I'm much faster than that outside, but this is a nice, easy pace for me. That's just a really good way to say that the treadmill belt is not calibrated properly. So as far as your form goes, now that I'm at a nice, easy pace, I wanna make sure that my body is straight up in space, that I'm centered on the belt, side to side and forward and back, and that I have a nice straight posture and my chin is lifted. Now I can cast my eyes downward if I'm looking at a screen or something like that, but I do want to keep my chin lifted, my arms nice and relaxed, as if I were running outside. Now, another thing about the treadmill itself, and this treadmill is designed to not actually be able to hold onto it too much, but there are rails on other treadmills that will kind of wrap around you. The idea is there aren't rails outside when you're running. So if you can avoid holding onto them, that's going to be helpful for your form. So we don't want to see this because it's compromising your form a little bit, okay? So try to let go of the treadmill. Also, unless you are starting and stopping quickly, try to ease in to a start and a stop. For example, if I want to slow down, I might bring my speed down a little bit and walk into it, okay? So now I'm walking and then I can stop it safely. What I would encourage you not to do as I bring the speed back up again, one of the things that can be kind of dangerous, and it may take a little practice, is to hold onto the rails and jump onto the side rails on the treadmill belt deck. So for example, this is hard to do on this treadmill. Hold onto the rails and jump to the side. I do not like doing that. I avoid that at all costs. I would much rather actually ease into the run and ease out of the run. Jumping back on, same deal. You just have to make sure your feet are going as fast as the belt is. Otherwise, you could cause a major problem, especially when getting back on the treadmill from the rail. Now, I often see runners going so fast that they can't actually reach the buttons to control their speed. So they'll do exactly that. They'll grab the handrails and jump to the side. If you are that far out of control, you're going too fast. Find a way to stay running in control without compromising your safety on the treadmill. Another thing is to listen to your feet. Now, if that is gonna wear out your treadmill and your body. Stay nice and loose, nice and light on your feet. My treadmill did not like that. It's wiggling at me now. So if you hear your feet at all, lighten your feet up. So if you were stomping or scuffing your feet on the belt, then it's time to lighten it up a little bit. Now, one thing I'm doing right now, I wanna show you something that is just poor form on a treadmill, and it does nothing for you as a runner or a walker. I am setting my incline up to its highest point. On this particular treadmill, it's 12%. Notice, I'm still not holding on. I am using my legs to push myself up the hill. This is tough, okay? What I see at fitness centers a lot is somebody will hold on to this and just get their rear end underneath them. This does nothing. This does nothing. All it does is it just puts you in a completely opposite position of what a runner or a walker would do. So let go of the treadmill and push up that hill. If you're gonna use the incline at this particular, at this steepness, then use your body. Let that work for you. Now, I will say, perhaps you have an injury that you're coming back from and you are using the treadmill as your physical therapy. You have to use the handrails. That's not what I'm talking about here. Using the handrails when you have to is very important. What I'm talking about here is when you are trying to simulate running outside, then you don't have handrails. So try not to use them. Try to increase and decrease speed using the belt and the speed indicators here, as well as the incline. It's just going to help you simulate that starting and stopping. It's also going to develop that muscle memory for that as well. Guys, I've left a link in the description below to a video by the Run Experience where they talk about running form on the treadmill and some tips and tricks how to do it well, safely, and carefully to get something out of this wonderful machine. Now let's talk about pace on the treadmill. Actually, scratch that. Let's not talk about pace on the treadmill because unless your belt is perfectly calibrated, and odds are it isn't, it will be off from what you are used to running outside. Now, some GPS watches will have an indoor run option. Basically, all that does is it turns the GPS off and it still captures the data so you can upload it. But that data will likely be off as well, and there will be a discrepancy between the data on your watch and the data on the treadmill. So which one do you trust? The miles on that thing or the miles on this thing? That's a trick question. Neither. My suggestion is just go by time. Don't worry about the mileage discrepancy. Go by time. So for example, if you have a 4-mile run scheduled for the day, and it usually takes you about 45 minutes to do that run, just turn on your watch, turn on the treadmill, and run for 45 minutes, regardless of time or distance. If this and that clock in under 4 miles or whatever it is you were supposed to do that day, it's fine. You still got the time on your feet in. It's just one way to take out the guesswork when you're running on the treadmill. The other thing you can do is you can purchase a foot pod that is compatible with your GPS device, but that's just an added expense. If you don't want to have to do that, just run by time. Lastly, let's talk about how bored we get on the treadmill. Yes, I get it. We do. We get bored. We're just staring at a wall. This is a perfect time to catch up on whatever Netflix show you've been missing out on, especially when we have those long runs, right? Save some fun stuff for when you have to be on the treadmill. For me, it's catching up on my favorite YouTubers because I do not always have time to watch everything I like to watch, especially my favorite running channels. So that's when I catch up. I see something come up in my feed, I add it to my watch later list, and then I can just hit the treadmill and start watching and catch up on what everybody's doing. And then it may be that it's been 6 months since I've caught up with them. Also, one of my biggest deals about busting the boredom on the treadmill, and my coach told me about this a long time ago, is to push a button every increment of time or every lap or whatever you decide. It doesn't have to be consistent and it can be whatever you choose, but push a button at that interval. So for example, incline up, incline down, speed up, speed down. It doesn't have to be much, just enough to kind of change the landscape profile of your run. This is a great way to just kind of keep yourself focused on what you're doing and look at the treadmill as a tool to get yourself stronger and faster and a more efficient runner without having to risk your neck running outside in the ice and snow. The bottom line is this: if you have the right attitude about running on the treadmill, it can be a useful and productive tool for you. If you have access to a treadmill, whether it's in your own home or at a fitness center, just try to remember that it doesn't have to be a punishment. It's not a horrible process. Just remember what they're there for. It's just a place to get that run in without injuring yourself. Run on the treadmill properly and you have a great option for when conditions make it unsafe to run outside. My question for you today is, what do you think of the mill? Do you avoid it at all costs, or do you look at it like, you know what? Maybe I'll hit the treadmill today instead of, slipping and sliding all over the place outside. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below, along with any questions or suggestions you have for future videos. That's going to be it for me today, you guys, because I actually have to get on this thing and do a few miles. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Lots of great tips coming for you on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Go find your awesome. And until I see you next time, happy running.